Hello everyone, welcome to Quarrelsome Rhinoceros Stitches episode 19. My name is Monica. I live in Maine and I like to craft a lot. So this is a podcast about all of the knitting and crocheting and I guess other crafty things that I get up to. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. If you have been watching for a while, welcome back. So a little bit of things to get out of the way before I actually start the meaty part of the episode. Starting October 15th, I will be running a one skein shawl along in my Ravelry group, where basically you use more than 80 grams but less than 115 grams of fingering weight yarn to produce a one skein shawl for yourself, for someone else, doesn't matter, as long as you haven't put more than a quarter's worth of a skein into the project before the craft along or shawl along actually starts. You can enter it into the one skein shawl along. So I have a couple of prizes. I have one prize already set aside. This shawl along is going to last through the holidays. The idea is that you should take some time out while you're doing all of your gift knitting to knit something nice for yourself, because I know most knitters around this time are like frantically trying to get out, well, not frantic quite yet, but are trying to get out presents for other people, but they don't do any selfish knitting for this for at this time of year. And I think especially for me, I did all of my presents knit last year, and so this year I'm not actually doing that. And I think it's mostly because I've turned into a more selfish knitter, because when I was knitting gifts for everyone else, I was kind of sad that I wasn't knitting anything for myself. So, yeah, anyway. So if you want to participate in that, head over to the Ravelry group. As always, there's links to that in like the description box below. You can also find all of the places you can find me on social media in the description box. That's most commonly Instagram. I do have a Twitter. And yeah, anyway, so I guess we should just get right into it. I have released the Tempest shawl pattern. It is completely done. It's all released. You can find that on my Ravelry page. I am working on a couple of new designs that I will actually share with you. I'll share one of them with you today. But I do have kind of a different sort of episode to show you today. I'm going to show you some finished objects that I have from several months ago. I think I finished these in March or April of this year. Yes, so I was a test knitter for the Making Stories Woods book, and so I've had these two finished objects because I did two test knits for them. I've had these two finished objects since the test knitting phase of their project was finished, and I haven't received my book yet, but it should be in the mail on its way. I know it's coming from Germany, so it'll take a little bit longer, because I've seen a couple of people already have their books, and I'm so frantically, like, I'm searching the mailbox every day waiting for them. Excuse me, Kelsey. Anyway, yeah, so Anyway, I was a test knitter, so I'm going to show you my two finished objects from that. I have a little bit of progress on one of my sweaters. Excuse me. I have one design to share with you and then one like small acquisition, but I'm going to show that to you at the beginning. And you may already know why. So this sweater that I'm wearing, I actually just finished last week, and I actually kind of just started it last week. So This is the Chuck sweater by Andy Satterland, and I love it. I did it as I was gonna, I'm going to enter it into the vintage sweater knit along that the Corner of Craft and Bad Wolf Girl Sits and Knits are hosting right now. I didn't think I was actually going to get it and or start it and finish it in time because of the knit along ends at the end of this month. But I cast on the Chuck sweater, and before I knew it, I was already to the bottom of the first cable, which is where you join it to do in the round. And I was like, well, that's not very many more rows. I can just whip that out, no problem. And so I finished the sweater in a week. I did make a couple of adjustments, really only one adjustment. I shortened the length of the sleeves because it is a worsted weight sweater, and it's not cold enough yet to wear a long sleeve worsted weight sweater, or even a 3/4 length sleeve worsted weight sweater. So, yeah, that was really the only modification I made to the pattern. I did make a mistake the first time I did it. So I joined it in the round, but I added, because you have to add stitches for the underarm when you're joining it in the round, and I missed one of the directions, so one of the underarms only ended up with 10 stitches when it should have had 20. And so I got about halfway done with this cable, and I was like, this doesn't really look right. Like they're not gonna match up, and I'm really confused. And so I had to rip back, and I managed to rip back in a cable pattern and still managed to make it look good, and I didn't ruin it. And I'm very proud of that. I think it's the first time I've ever done that. Anyway, so yeah, it was a lopsided armhole is what the problem was. But I did rip back, and I've finished, obviously, the sweater. So you didn't even see this as a work in progress. I picked up the yarn, which is my acquisition. I picked up the yarn at the craft store that I was working at for about a month, and I'm done with that now. So when I got home with the yarn, I swatched it, and I got gauge perfect first time. I have like a whole wall of swatches that I think I may end up turning into a blanket at some point, but I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do with them. But I just enjoy having swatches. So this is Lion brand Fisherman's Wool in the oatmeal colorway. I still have so much of this yarn left over. I thought I was gonna need 3 skeins, or not 3, but I thought I was gonna need at least 2 to do the sweater. And honestly, I think I probably would have used, obviously I would have used more of the second skein if I had made the arms longer, but I did not. So yeah, it's Lion brand Fisherman's Wool. So this is 100% pure virgin wool, and it's in an 8-ounce ball, or it's like 227 grams. So it's a pretty big skein. So I still have 2 of the, like I have one full one, and then this left over, which is like a good portion of this one. I think it's at least 100 grams, at least probably even closer to 200. Like it's probably like 180. Like I don't think I use very much of this skein at all. I started this skein when I started the sleeves. So, and I have a whole other ball, and so one of my friends asked me if I would knit them one of these sweaters. So I might do that. So that might be, you may see another version of this Chuck, but it'll be in a different size. And so right now, since I may cast on something else with this yarn in the future, I am holding it in this really cute tote bag. It's got a heart on it. I also bought it at that craft store that I was working at for about a month. So yeah, so that is my Chuck sweater. I really enjoyed working with it. I'm going to say that the pattern probably is not not very beginner friendly. And it's the reason that I'm saying that is just, like, I don't want to discourage people from trying it, but I did find some of the directions a little bit confusing. As I said, I missed one of the directions for the underarm, so that one was my fault. But I think there were some directions that if you're a new knitter, I don't think you would have understood, like the wrap and turns for like the sleeves, and there's a little bit of short row shaping up in the shoulders. Like the pattern doesn't tell you to pick up the wraps as you see them, which, like, that's just something that's just like a pet peeve of mine. Like I would prefer to have that written in there. Like I have a friend who is a new knitter, or she considers herself a beginner knitter, or a new knitter, and she doesn't, she wouldn't have known. And I shared it. I was like, hey, would you have known what to do when you hit that point? Anyway, but yeah, so I'm gonna knit her one of these sweaters so that she can have one. Even though she lives in Florida and it'll be extra hot, it's extra hot there, so she may not get to wear it very much. But yeah, so yeah. So there is my check sweater. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I'm gonna insert a little video of me standing up wearing it so you can see sort of the full effect of what it looks like. So moving on, I think I'm gonna show you my work in progress first because I've got a bunch of finished objects to share, and I think I will just show you what I'm working on first. So that I have only put a couple of rows onto it, and I showed it on last time, but my old romance sweater is coming along. I'm almost done with the second ball of gray. So I was about here last time, so I've put on about 12 rows. It's not a whole lot, but there are so many stitches. I have probably about 100 more before I'm satisfied with the length, because at this point, like, I've already done the sleeves, obviously. At this point, it is just to my preference of length for this sweater. I mean, the pattern does say, oh, knit for 18 inches or whatever, but I'm just going to knit for as long as I want the sweater to be, which admittedly probably is going to be about 18 inches, whichever comes first. Excuse me. So that is my my old romance sweater. So that is a pattern by Joji Locatelli. Excuse me. I am knitting it out of Dingo Dye Works yarns, and it is so soft and so scrumptious. I'm so excited to wear that sweater, and I think that's what's going to push me through that endless stockinette stitch that I have to work now. So yeah, hopefully I'll be finished with that in the next couple of weeks. I am going to my grandmother's house this weekend, so hopefully I'll be able to bring that along and knit on that while we watch some Netflix. All right, now, so I have shown my swatch here on the podcast before for one of my projects from Woods, Making Stories Woods. And so it is this yarn, Cyrano Underarm Natura. The colorway is Plume. Yeah, it is. The yarn itself is so soft and squishy. I think I still have a ball of this left over. No, I don't. I'm actually using it for, I made, if you watched a couple of episodes ago, I made all of the brioche things. I used this yarn to make a brioche hat. And so this is my swatch of this yarn. It is showing up a little bit more vibrant blue than it actually is. It is a little bit more teal than it is showing up. But yeah, so there is my my swatch. So this is done in Fisherman's Rib. The whole sweater is in Fisherman's Rib. and it is called the Black Forest cardigan, and I'm gonna put up a project page for it. They just put up Ravelry pages for all of the designs that are in woods, and so I'm going to put this sweater in there as soon as I'm done with recording, when I have a minute today. So here is the sweater. So it is a big, bulky, cozy sweater. This is going to be so warm for the winter. So yeah, the whole thing is done in fisherman's rib. I will tell you that it got very heavy. My wrists actually really hurt by the time I got to the end of the sweater. And I had to take a little bit of a break from knitting when I was doing it because my hands just were in quite a fair amount of pain just because of how heavy the yarn is and how heavy the sweater ended up. It was weighing down, and I was using like circular needles, so it wasn't even like I was using straight needles trying to do it. It was just a lot of yarn. All together, I think so. All together, this yarn has, every ball has 100 grams in it, and it's 150 meters. I'm pretty sure that I used 10 balls for this, so about 1,500 meters of yarn. I will stand up so you can see. So here is the sweater. There is a little bit of side detailing. I don't know if you can see that on camera. I'll move closer. There's a little bit of detailing here. It's a little bit of cable work. And yeah, so I really enjoy the sweater, how warm it is, and it is going to be a really nice thing to wear in the winter because it gets so cold here that I need really big sweaters in order to stay warm. But yeah, so this has been done since April. I've worn it once or twice. There is a little bit of pilling in the yarn. I'm going to need to get a gleaner in order to keep it looking nice. So yeah. Yeah, there's just a little bit of pilling. You can't really see it on camera. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I think the only thing that that I wish is that I had done the bind off a little bit more stretchy, just because I think that's part of what makes it difficult. But so the neck, so this is the collar part right here, and so that is supposed to fold over, and it fits, excuse me, it fits way better if it's folded over right at the line where it was cast on, like the sweater itself, but it kind of tends to roll up, and so I only get it about halfway to there, and yeah, so it gets a little bit slouchy. But I really enjoy the finished object. For me, that was definitely a product knit rather than a process knit. I'm kind of a mixture of both, a process and product knitter. I really like having the finished object like the sweater, but I really enjoyed the process of knitting this sweater. I really enjoyed the cable pattern. I really enjoyed keeping track of my rows so that I could get the other cables to work out properly. The other sweater, however, fisherman's rib is really difficult. It's very much like brioche, where you're really, like, for every row you knit, you're only knitting half a row. So yeah. But yeah, so that is the Black Forest cardigan. I will put pictures that I've taken already on Ravelry. As soon as I'm done recording, I will go and I'll make project pages for these two things. I was not able to before, obviously. So the other one that I knit was a pair of socks, and these are knit in tuku wool, which is Finnish wool. And I think I showed you my swatch. I can't seem to find my swatch anywhere. But it is 100% Finnish wool. The color is Joku. And these are the Abisco socks. So I'm actually I'll show one of them to you off the blocker and one of them to you on the blocker. So this is the sock. There's a lace pattern on the front that is easier to see like that. Yeah, so yeah, so it is a sock. I really like the lace pattern. I think it's great. The wool is very woolly, so it is going to be very warm in the winter. It's a very, I mean, obviously none of the wools that they used are superwash, and they're like real wool, or not real wool. I mean, obviously superwash is real wool, but they're more hardy wools, I guess, than superwash. And yeah, so that is the Abisco sock. There's not a whole lot to say about it. It is a pair of socks. It is another pair from my box of socks that I haven't been counting up until now. So because it was a test knit and I wasn't able to share it before, I wasn't counting it as a finished pair of socks. So now it goes into my box of socks, and that makes 10, I think, for the year. Either 9 or 10 for the year. So I'll have to go double check that. I can't remember if my bad trip socks that I've finished one of is my number 10 or if this is number 10. So, those are the 2 test knits that I did for Woods. And I absolutely recommend going to pre-order the book if you haven't gotten it already. It is a collection of wonderful patterns, and I'm so excited for my copy. I cannot wait until it makes it here to my doorstep. That being said, I also have another design that I started working on as part of a submission for an upcoming Making Stories publication, but they didn't choose my design, and that's fine because I'm going to self-publish. So this is I'm using the same yarn that I used, or well, this swatch used the same yarn as my Abisco socks, but I wanted to share it here so that I could show you sort of what I've been working on. I've been working more on design work than I have on like actual knitting. Like, I guess this was a big project, but I haven't knit really a single stitch since I finished this sweater. So I've been working more on like writing patterns up, and I'm almost done writing this pattern up, and I'm almost ready to call for test knitters for it. So here is, oh, it looks so good on camera. Okay, so this is called the Altitude Socks. So it's got some seed stitch and then a little bit of lace pattern. And I've kind of decided, like, my favorite parts of designs are the textured and the lacy stitches, and I like the combination of those. So I think most of my designs are going to feature some sort of textured stitch and some sort of lace stitch, and hopefully in a way that makes them work together. My Tempest shawl has that textured stitch running down the spines of the semicircle, and then the lace stitch along the edge. And there's like a tiny bit of lace like around the spine stitches, but I would like to incorporate a little bit more lace into future designs. But yeah, so this is basically, it's a sock swatch. So what I did was I started the toe, I did a little bit of what the foot would be, and then I just made the cuff. And I am going to just use this for images for test knitters if you want to test knit this sock pattern for me. So I do know what I'm going to make my sample in once I'm done with the pattern, because I also I want to test knit my own pattern. So I know what yarn I'm going to use for the sample for this. But yeah, I am super excited for this. I really, really like this design, and I can't wait to finish it up and get a test knitter in there for it, just so that I can get the design out. I'm not sure, I'm working on another pattern also that I haven't done a swatch for yet, that is for newsletter sign up. So I'm going to start a newsletter showing you the design work that I'm working on, and it'll probably be like every 2 weeks, just like the podcast. I may release it with the podcast. And so for signups, I'm going to release a free sock pattern, and I think I'm going to make it based on the Tempest shawl. So it's going to be a Tempest sock, basically. But yeah, so I'm really excited about this sock here. I'm hoping to get the pattern finished. I think really the hardest part is writing it with these instructions for the toe, making this seed stitch instead of stockinette. I think is difficult for me. But yeah, I'm super excited about how this worked out, and like the lace stitch was really easy to put onto the sock. So I'm really hopeful that it's going to be a really quick design process, and I can get this actually out and in my Ravelry store. So there you go. That is pretty much everything I have to talk about today. I think that that is a good sort of representation of what I've been working on. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, good representation of what I've been working on the last 2 weeks. I gave you a little bit of a tour of the finished objects that I haven't been able to share before. And yeah, so I hope that you really enjoyed this episode, and that you will come back again. I am having episode number 20 in about 2 weeks. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful couple of weeks, and that you get some knitting time in to do some knitting for yourself. It is, for me right now, I am all about the selfish knitting, and I hope that you take a little bit of time to spend on your knitting for yourself as well. I will see you again very soon. Bye.
Sit. Oh, you're such a good boy. You're so good.